How you doing, Miss Claudia?
I'm well, thank you. How's everything in the western part of the county?
It's not too bad. At least no rain
Good.
today.
I was going to say, have you dried out at all up there?
A little bit. Yep, a little bit. Yeah, you can pull that shit. How's that husband of yours doing?
He's doing well. He did a lot of grass cutting today.
Yeah, y'all got a lot to
By
cut.
this, well, by this time of the year, you shouldn't have to cut so much grass, but it's rained so much and so much sunshine also that it's just growing like crazy.
Yeah. Starting to go to seed now, though.
All right, I am good with the recording. I have set Mr. Brown as a co-host. I do not see Mr. Wilson yet on the list, but we'll watch out for him and monitor all of the potential comments for Facebook and YouTube.
Steve, thank you. And Mr. Wilson's not going to come. That
Okay.
item has been resolved. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to go out of closed session.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board discussed personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters during closed session. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda and other parts of the agenda as action and information items. When members of the board certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session, please answer by roll call.
Mrs. Sochak,
Yes.
Mr. Goforth, Dr. Shores,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harrow,
Yes, ma'am.
and Mr. Reed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
If we would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Gretz, do you have some recognitions for us?
I do. Board members, I'm very excited to bring you the resolve of the resolution that you passed last month. The Virginia School Board Association, as you know, recognizes representatives from the media for outstanding work in specifically promoting the work of schools, educating communities about what's happening in schools. And so you, as a board, nominated Tom Harden for his work as editor of the Southside Sentinel. And so he's been accepted into the Media Honor Roll program. And he wasn't able to join us, but here is the plaque that we typically would present to him. And he has communicated with us that would graciously accept an opportunity to come and to physically get this award and to have a photo taken with us. And so we just would commend Tom for all of his support over the years. And I thank the board for that nomination. And certainly if there's anything that you'd like to share on his behalf, feel free to do so. If he were here, we'd be able to recognize him personally. He wasn't able to be with us tonight.
He's certainly, I mean, all of his years prior to the Sentinel and certainly through the Sentinel has supported the school system vigorously. And just in so many ways, not only as the editor, but personally, he has supported students and programs that we have had in our system. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, agree.
All right. Anything else? We're good?
That's it.
Okay. Additions and corrections to the agenda. Anything, Ms. Jordan? Because I don't have anything.
We do have a financial piece
Okay.
to enter.
All right. So,
And Madam Chair, real quickly, I'm sorry. I
Uh-huh.
would just point out that initially we were going to look at the refunding analysis done by Davenport. Since that time, that's not going to be necessary for the school board to take any action since no school facilities will be used as collateral in the county's refinancing of their bond. So that's going to come off the agenda. And I would respectfully request, we've got a representative from Sun Tribe Solar with us who's going to present some work. That's item number 4 under action items. And maybe we could move him up
okay.
to in place of, to number 1.
All right. All right. So, the addition is the financial report, and we'll remove the refunding analysis of the EDA bond series 2015B. Is there a motion to approve those changes?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. All right, public announcements. September is Suicide Prevention Month. September the 13th through the 19th is National Arts and Education Week. October the 1st is the end of interim grading period. We haven't moved any of those dates because we start a week later, have we, sir?
We have
Okay.
not.
October the 6th, interim grades issued. October the 12th, next school board meeting at 7 p.m. The floor is open for public comment.
This might be interesting.
Mr. Dunkel, do you have anything, anybody in the waiting room for public comment?
I see T. Kennedy would like to have comments. I see nothing on Facebook or YouTube at the moment.
Okay,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm new to the Zoom, so I'm not sure how it goes.
Okay, just 1 second. So
Alright.
what we'd like for you to do is to give your name and your address, and you'll be given 3 minutes to tell us what you'd like to say.
All right, so my name is Thomas Kennedy. I live in Locust Hill. I currently have 2 children going to Middlesex Elementary, and I'm here to tell you that you need to open these schools for these kids. The policies that you put in place are failing these children to give them a proper education. The board gave teachers and parents 3 weeks to prepare for virtual schooling. You had 6 months almost to prepare for this. And you gave us up until August in the last school board that we were going to go to a hybrid, then change it at the last minute, and then pushed it back. People have jobs. People have lives that they have to adjust this. This was a drastic change. I know my wife, she lost her job because of this COVID. And now she spends all day teaching these children. My daughters only get about 30 minutes a day with their teachers, right? And about 50% attendance rate with the whole class. Twice a week, they get a small group with their teacher. The rest of the time, it falls on my wife to teach my children on all their assignments, making sure they're turned in on time. And I know that there's parents that are not doing this because they simply do not have the time or the knowledge or the means to do this. And that leads me to, why are these schools closed? You guys say it's because of COVID. And if that's the reason, you really need to look at yourself. And I got a question for you, whether this is a fear of yourselves or politics on why you had this school closed. Because if it's due to the science and data of COVID, you guys would have these schools closed every flu season. 0 children have died from this disease in 6 months. In Middlesex alone, we've only had 39 cases for kids 0 to 9, 102 for kids 10 to 19, and had 2 hospitalizations, 1 in each age group. And for the state, we had about almost 4,900 kids 0 to 9, and about 13,000 kids 10 to 19, with 0 deaths. And 90 kids were hospitalized from 0 to 9, and 112 were hospitalized from 10 to 19 from COVID for 6 months. Now, if we look at the flu just from last year, there were 6 kids that died. The year before that was 5. The year before that was 6. So obviously, flu did more damage to children than COVID just on the death rate. Just the infections alone last year was almost 12,000 from just the flu. And then we had 4,800 die from flu and pneumonia during a 19-week span last winter. So once again, I ask you, is it fear or politics is why these schools are closed? Because the science and data of COVID do not agree. The flu would cause these schools to be closed permanently, forever, if this is the new standard that you are setting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Appreciate your comments. Mr. Dunkel, anyone else?
At this time, I do not have any other comments or hands raised.
Thank you. All right, we will move to board member comments and reports. Just again, Ms. Jordan is going to remind us, but on the 24th, we are all doing the legislative conference, particularly because there's a FOIA, a seminar, which we have to have before the end of the year. So put that on your calendar if you haven't done so. It's all Zoom. Okay, Mr. Goforth, anything from Bridging?
No, but I did check with Peter today, and I understand the students are attending 1 day a week, as we had indicated at the last meeting.
Mhm. Okay. Dr. Shores, Governor's School?
We will be meeting Thursday at 6 o'clock, and this will be just like we're having this meeting. Some will be on telephone, some will be on computer technology.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay. Mr. Harrow, anything from WHRO?
Dr. Gretz and I will be meeting Thursday, I believe it's at 2:30 with WHRO, and look forward to some good things from them.
Mhm. Great. Mr. Reed, anything from the task force?
No, haven't heard anything.
The regional SPED governing board met, I believe. We had our meeting in August, and then we met 2 weeks later. And the determination was that, of course, Gloucester opened the day after Labor Day. And they were going to spend the first 2 weeks with their teachers, acclimating them to the kind of procedures that they're going to have to do with that program. And then I believe it's next Monday, they will begin in-person school for those students who want to come. I haven't gotten an update on if there are those who aren't coming, but they had to also, I think I mentioned, get some more PPE and things like that, because of course it's such a specialized program. We are going to have a meeting in October. I think it's the first Wednesday in October, the 7th, I believe it is, to have an update. And so I'll have that update for you at the October meeting. And then of course we'll meet at a regular meeting in November. But that is such a hands-on program that they wanted to make sure that the nurse and the teachers and everyone knew the exact procedures that they were to use with these children, students. So I'll have more to report at the October meeting. Anything else from anyone? I skipped something? Okay. Let's have the motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. Let's hear from Sun Tribe and their solar renewable energy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just real quickly
Taylor.
before we turn this over to Taylor, with the passing of the consent agenda, I just want to take a moment to congratulate Mr. Dustin Harris, who is being named the new Director of Operations for the Middlesex County Public Schools to take Greg Harrow's place as Greg makes his exit. We're very excited about Dustin's leadership that he's going to bring into this position and the impact he's going to have on teaching and learning in our school division. So congratulations to you, Dustin. I see he has just popped in here. And we look forward to working with you and making this transition with you.
Thanks, Dr. Gretz. I definitely have some big shoes to fill. I'm looking forward to working closely with Greg to make sure this transition is as seamless as possible. And I am definitely looking forward to being a pioneer with Middlesex County Public Schools in the initiatives on the operations side of what we are currently doing. So I'm excited. You know, you all have invested in me 10 years ago as a teacher and have seen me through different positions in all three schools. And I am just, you know, so excited to continue this journey alongside of you. You all have invested in me, you know, so much. I'm looking forward to working with you all to continue to be a pioneer in the state as far as operation goes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Welcome,
appreciate it,
Dustin.
sir.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm gonna, Taylor Brown is joining us from sunny Charlottesville, Virginia. I assume it's sunny. Taylor, thanks for being with us. I'm really gonna let you explain the concept of the SREX and the proposal that you brought to us. I think you'll do a better job, but I do want to just initially summarize for the board. New legislation over the summer has created a market for these authentications, if you will, these SRECs that we are generating as someone who hosts a solar array. And so Sun Tribe has brought a proposal to purchase these from us. We have vetted that proposal to the best of our ability through the different circles that we have access to, and have found this to be a very favorable proposal for our schools and a great move for our school division to generate some additional revenue and to help the Commonwealth on a growing initiative. So with that, Taylor, take it away.
All right, Dr. Gretz, appreciate it. Great to see school board here again, even though we are remote at this time. I'm going to share a presentation. Let's see here. Can we see my screen?
Almost. There it is.
There you go.
All right. Taylor Brown here. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders at Sun Tribe Solar. Have been honored to work with Middlesex for a number of years now on the solar deployments at both the elementary, middle, and high school now. Very proud that you all take one of the rare descriptors of one of the only on-site solar powered school districts in the nation to our knowledge, and really proud that you all have kind of taken a leadership posture there. So today I'm going to talk about SRECs. Many probably have never heard of such a thing, and so I'll do a little bit of background on what these SRECs are. So an SREC is a solar renewable energy certificate. It is essentially an attribute that is given to solar generation is really what it is. This attribute is separate from the electricity itself. So you all are currently absorbing all of the electricity that those solar arrays are producing. And now you're also the owner of these SRECs. SRECs will enable you to be further compensated for the solar that you are currently consuming. And I'll get into the reasons why here. So why do SRECs exist all of a sudden? Dr. Gretz mentioned the Virginia Clean Economy Act that passed earlier in 2020, and it enacted what is known as a renewable portfolio standard. So power companies all over the country have renewable portfolio standards that require a certain amount of their electricity to come from either renewable or carbon-free sources. And if they don't meet that certain requirement, in this case, I've just created an example that you'll see down below where a power company had, say, a 75% RPS requirement. So the green bar is, their full annual power delivery to the grid, and the orange bar is how much renewable power that they generated. Well, the purple bar remaining is essentially known as a deficit. And what these SRECs enable are folks who have solar to sell those attributes to the power company so that they can get to that RPS requirement. So folks such as Middlesex and other school districts that we're working with can essentially sell their SRECs and enable the power companies to get to that requirement. So that is the SREC in a nutshell. When I get to the end, I'm happy to answer questions, but trying to give a little bit of background on why this revenue source is now an opportunity for Middlesex schools. Mentioned a moment ago, the Virginia Clean Economy Act has a quite aggressive target of hitting 100% carbon-free sources by 2045 in Dominion territory. Only talking about Dominion here because all three schools are powered by Dominion in this case. So Middlesex has the opportunity to sell these SRECs to Dominion, through SunTribe to Dominion, and help meet these targets that we're seeing here. So how does that translate to Middlesex Public Schools? So as mentioned, all three schools are powered by solar. You all are currently the owner of those SRECs. SunTribe is working with folks all across the state to aggregate these SRECs and help the power companies hit those targets. So we're offering what would be a 5-year purchase agreement. So we're enabling you to monetize 15 years worth of production in 5 years. So we're kind of helping front load that revenue on your behalf. In this case, we would be taking ownership of the SRECs for both of the arrays at a price of $24,000 a year. So there's no additional time or cost to you all. We're already monitoring all the facilities. So we would just work with you to register these in the cloud through GATS. And we would just begin cutting you a check every quarter. We would do quarterly payments. This additional revenue can be utilized for any core functions that Middlesex needs right now. And so we're here to try to help create additional revenue and really put it towards helping the students as you all see fit. With that, would love to open it up to any questions that folks might have.
Thank you, Taylor. You did a great job, as I knew you would, explaining that. So board members, to be clear, at the end of our discussion, I'm asking you to take action on authorizing me to enter into this agreement according to this proposal with SunTribe. And, not to sound trite about this, but frankly, just to put it into perspective, whether or not we entered into this agreement, nothing is going to change with regards to our operation. Everything will be exactly the same. The only difference will be if we make this decision, we will annually net $24,000 a year in revenue that can be spent however the board chooses to spend it. So I unequivocally would ask you for that authority to enter into this agreement. I think it's a great solution for us. But definitely, if you have questions, you've got the one here who can really get into the weeds and answer them.
I'm willing to make the motion as long as the Board of Supervisors will reappropriate it to us for our use.
Is
I'll
there,
second
there's a second? All right, so there's a question there. Is that money going to directly to the school board or does it go through the Board of Supervisors?
Well, Karen is on the call. I mean, my understanding is it'll have to be appropriated to us. I mean, Karen, do you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, so it would have to be appropriated to us.
We're happy to work, through the agreement in any shape or form that would help enable that. I do think it's worth mentioning that this additional revenue is a windfall from Middlesex's leadership and kind of moving forward with solar, maybe ahead of some of the other folks who are doing it now. And the Clean Economy Act is rewarding those who have already moving in that direction. So I think it's a kudos and testament to the board and Dr. Gretz's leadership here.
Taylor, I have a question. Will this come as a check?
It will.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so what would happen is we would get a check. This is a statement for the board. We would get a check and then we would then go to our appropriating body and ask to deposit said check in a certain revenue account.
Very, very similar to what we just did with the grant money that we received from the state and from river counties.
Yes.
So this is a check. It's not a deduction as to what we pay every month to you.
No.
It is separate. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Are there any more questions for our friend? We haven't seen in a while. Good to see you, Taylor. Hope things are going well at Centri.
Absolutely. Great to see y'all.
Great.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. If there are no more questions or comments, all those in favor of the, how do I word this now? The solar renewable energy purchase proposal from Centri, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion is passed.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here with us.
Absolutely. Look forward to getting this going for y'all.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, Dr. Gretz, we have an appropriations request here.
We do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, if you'll refer to page 27 in your packet. We've got several appropriations that have been to the Board of Supervisors and have been approved. So the first one on page 27, these are grant monies that we are using to accomplish some training that you're actually going to reference in your next agenda item when you look at some of the new policies that have been passed. So this is to appropriate grant money for us to do seclusion and restraint training that is now mandatory in the state of Virginia. It's a mandated training that did not come with any funding to accomplish it. So this is how we're accomplishing it. On page 28, as you know, we applied for the High School Innovation Grant. Middlesex was one of 5 school divisions to receive this grant. So you can see the budget as we designed it initially. That could change slightly as we get into it, but this is $50,000 that's used for us to plan the extension of essentially the core concepts that are at work at Compass Academy to further expand those into the high school. Career exploration and community-based learning, flexible scheduling, and blended instruction. So you have self-paced virtual instruction along with direct instruction, and then internship and entrepreneurship, hands-on learning. Everything that's being successful right now in Compass Academy, we want to make available to more teachers at the high school so that more students can have those experiences that we value so much. The state looked at our proposal, believed that A, it was a great proposal. B, it was easily replicable by other school divisions that wanted to try this and that we could lead in that way. And so they funded us the full amount of $50,000. And then on page 29, this is, there was damage to an HVAC unit. And so this is to appropriate insurance money that we're receiving based on that damage to cover the repair costs. And those are the 3 appropriations. Happy to entertain any questions.
What damage was that was?
Unfortunately, Mr. Reed, I won't be able to tell you. All I know is that they were damaged. They had to be prepared in order to work, but the specifics of what happened to them, I really don't know.
Okay.
It was caused by lightning.
Right.
Oh.
But I don't know what I don't know enough about HVAC to be able to answer that intelligently. Dustin, we're going to put you on the spot. Are you still on here? I really don't know. I can certainly follow up with you after talking to Greg.
Well, if it was lightning, there's electronics.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the appropriations request?
So moved.
Is there a second? I think Dr. Shore seconded. Any questions? Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the appropriations request, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Dr. Gretz, we have some school board policies on first reading.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You've got 4 policies included.
I'm sorry, I skipped it. Oh, no, we did away with that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Did you want me to make a statement about that refunding, or, I mean, you think we're all on the same page with that?
If maybe for the public, if you want to make a comment.
Essentially, the county came and requested that we consider taking action on a refunding analysis that was done by Davenport Limited. That's the financial consulting group that works with the County of Middlesex. And occasionally they review the county's debt and make recommendations about refunding, refinancing opportunities that would be favorable for the county. So they recently brought one of those to the county, and one of the 3 bonds being considered at the time they thought would need collaterally, our property would be used in qualifying for the refunding. And so that would require this board to approve that. Shortly after we prepared your board packet, we got a call from Davenport, and they had pursued some other avenues to accomplish the funding that would not require that collateral, and therefore does not require the school board to take any action or to consider it. So I think the county is still considering moving forward with the refinancing, which is quite favorable for the county. We just aren't involved in any way. So that's
Thank
why
you.
it came off the agenda.
Thank you. All right. So the first readings of school board policy.
So the thing I'll tell you about these policies, you've had a chance to take a look at them, is they do all of them, but one in particular, they all come with a significant amount of training that we have to accomplish, mandatory training regarding Title IX and harassment. And then the most significant is the resolve to what has been, I think, about a 6-year process of reviewing the Commonwealth's seclusion and restraint policies where students are concerned. So the legislation is done, the policy is written, and I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these. I don't feel like I need to point out anything other than that. We do have some mandatory training that we need to do with all staff members. We're set to do it. You just approved an appropriation of some grant money that we're going to use to accomplish it because it is quite expensive. So we thankfully won't have to rely on the county to help us with that. It was an unbudgeted mandate, frankly, but we're going to be able to accomplish it. We'll get it done. If you have any questions about these, I'm happy to answer them. The policies in and of themselves, I don't disagree with any of them. That's the only thing. It comes with a lot of training we have to do and no funding to accomplish it.
Do we have to update our MOU with the Sheriff's Department?
We're supposed to do that every 2 years.
Mhm.
Um,
But because of this new,
I don't think the policy is going to have an implication on that, and I don't think it is in any way in conflict with the resolution that this board just passed regarding our relationship to the sheriff's department. But another policy is requiring that we do that every 2 years. So we'll do that. Sheriff Bushy has always been very open to that.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
No.
Is there a motion to approve on first reading the 4 policies listed, A through D?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions about these or comments about these policies?
What's the timeline for the required training?
needs to happen this year. Not a whole lot of lead time.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor of the policies on first reading, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, Dr. Gretz, can you give us an update on school opening?
I will, absolutely. And my intention with this item was to, we started instruction on the 31st. We opened school with our fully remote model that we adopted in the last school board meeting. And so I want to give you an update on how teaching and learning is going, what's happening with our meals and our special populations of students, tech distribution, all of that. I do think that based on some of the discussions in the community, that there are people who maybe are expecting that this board is going to vote on a decision about what to do with school based on the agenda item, update on school opening. Just reminding folks that this board voted to go into a fully remote, essentially a phase 1 mode for 6 weeks. And so the end of that will happen about the time of our next school board meeting in October. What I'll tell you before I get into how things are going and what kind of feedback we're getting and entertain any questions that you have. One of the biggest factors in this board's decision, if you recall, Richard Williams joined us. The Department of Health had just done a dashboard that showed what they're calling burden of community spread, measuring 8 different data points and coming up with a score. Middlesex is part of what they're calling the Eastern District, Eastern Region. The Commonwealth is divided into 5 of those. And at the time that the board made its decision, that region was in what they were referring to as significant burden of community spread. So each superintendent is able to get an update. We get one every Monday. I can call on any other day and get one, but I have to call and get it. So every Monday, Richard Williams updates that dashboard and essentially tells us, here's where your community is, and here's where the Eastern region is, and here's the information from the Department of Health. So just this morning, I got one of those. And just as I just offer this for context. The community, the burden of community spread is a number. And essentially anything over the number 10, according to the Department of Health, these are my words, but essentially they'll say your community's on fire if you're over 10. That's the significant mark. And so as of this morning, Middlesex was a 27. Lancaster, which was the one, each time they highlight the one in the region that has the highest burden, Lancaster was at a 38. And again, for context, in terms of community spread, 38 is higher than Virginia Beach ever was on their worst day. So from the standpoint of the Department of Health, and I'm not putting words into Richard Williams' mouth, and the board is not considering the decision now anyway. We made the decision for 6 weeks. We're only 2 weeks into that 6. But from the standpoint of the Department of Health, whatever data they brought to that first meeting, it would seem that nothing has changed with that data from the recommendations they're going to give this board as of tonight. Again, not making a decision tonight, I understand. I'm just providing that for context. So we began instruction. Let me talk about teaching and learning for just a couple of minutes. And I'll basically make comments across 5 different aspects of this. The challenges maybe that we had and the opportunities that we had, the things we were trying to resolve. With regards to connectivity, making sure that all of our students and families were connected in a way that remote learning would make sense for all of them. The distribution of devices, mobile devices, hotspot devices, all these laptops in some cases with our career and technical students goes hand in hand with connectivity, but the devices and the connectivity really work together in order to enable the students to have the tools. The acquisition and then the training, not just of our teachers, but of our parents and our students around a learning management system. We're using Canvas. Canvas is the statewide learning management system that houses all of these components. 4th would be course content. We develop our own course content. We have some provided through Virtual Virginia, but that essentially is the bulk within the management system that enables students to continue to progress academically. And then finally, communication, establishing, maintaining, carving out new forms, evaluating the success of our communication between schools and families, students and teachers and parents and teachers. As of tonight, really almost everybody is connected. We've resolved almost all of those issues. At the last board meeting, I told you that when I said we had resolved almost all of them, we had acquired a solution for almost all of them. Tonight, almost all of those solutions are implemented and those students are actually connected. We do have some that aren't, and we're having to work individually on each one of those. Distribution of devices and specifically the MiFi devices, the jetpacks. Steve Dunkel is on here and he'll be able to give you some more technical knowledge around what a jetpack is. But these are the devices that are especially connecting our student families where there are multiple students that are using multiple tools in the house at the same time that can be a burden on internet connectivity. Those distributions are essentially done at the elementary school and the middle school. The high school is a lot more complicated. Some of those devices, especially the laptops that are being used through the CTE programs and the software that's at work, have to be brought back. And even though they've been distributed, now that the devices are there to connect them for some of those kids, they have to be brought back to the high school, and there has to be some physical work done to them to enable them to be resolved. That's happening as we speak, and it's happening rapidly. I can't say enough good about our tech team, every single one of them, working around the clock, being responsive, and just really trying hard to not only get families connected, but set them up for success in what is, without question, a very challenging situation, even in the best of circumstances. Canvas, our learning management system, we've done a lot of training. Our teachers did that first on their own time during the summer, 20 hours of training to just get them on board. And then that really continues. Canvas, I will say, for some of our teachers is a very complicated tool. For some, it's a little more intuitive. For anybody who's taken a graduate or a college course in the past decade, Canvas is really kind of business as usual. But for those of us that maybe haven't, it can, in a lot of ways, it can be like being a first-year teacher again. And I praised our tech team. I have to praise our teachers. They've really jumped in with both feet and have done a phenomenal job of working very hard to get up to speed and to make this as accessible as it can be. And for every 10 minutes that you see on Canvas, I can promise you there's multiple hours on the back end that teachers are putting into making that happen. We're still really just in the first 2 weeks, in some cases, getting kids acclimated to the tools. That didn't take as long for some students, but we're still having to do that. What we're definitely finding is that we need to put some educational material, whether that's instructional videos or it may be print material or maybe both, for our parents, specifically helping parents know how to follow up and see what assignments have been submitted and which ones haven't in Canvas. So that is something that we've heard quite a bit of from our teachers, parents, and we want to respond to that, to put something together. With regards to content, Virtual Virginia provided tons of content, modules, if you will. that were our teachers, at least in the core content areas, were able to use. What our teachers are finding is that they, number one, we're going to put words in their mouth and think they can do a better job, but our teachers know our students and know our curriculum, and they're not content to just use the Virtual Virginia platforms. And so they're really modifying them, and in many cases starting from scratch and making their own. That's taken a ton of time, but it's more engaging for our students to see those things done by their teachers and our staff than it is from folks from Virtual Virginia. And especially in the case of our specials and our exploratory arts courses where that content was not available. Our teachers are having to do that from the ground up. Teachers continue to reach out to families and make connections. I think they're making lots of those connections, but again, in certain circumstances, there's still a couple of kids out there that we just have not been able to resolve why they're not showing up and why they're not in. It's very few, but we're really trying to isolate those individual cases and make sure we figure out why they're not there. Just like in the traditional setting, when you have students that don't attend and they're 17, it oftentimes is a different reason and perhaps more of a burden on the student's responsibility and behavior than if they're 7, in which case it may have something more to do with the parents or the circumstances that they're in. So again, we're trying to resolve all those things to make sure everybody is connected. Given that we're 2 weeks in, today we started the first day of our 3rd week, and the first 2 weeks were a little shorter because there were fewer days in each one. We've averaged between 90 and 94% participation, meaning 94% in most cases our students are logging in, engaged, participating, interacting, and turning in assignments. That can range from anywhere from 85 to 95. I'm giving you an average, but if 85 is the worst based on our experience before and the Commonwealth's experience, that's very encouraging to know that that we have that kind of a phenomenal participation rate. This week, we'll begin MAP testing, which is our measure of academic progress. That's the growth testing in reading and math. That data is essential for our ability to determine those academic gaps that we know are out there. We know they're there. Our teachers are able to intuitively see what they are as they interact with students. Now, this will give us some quantifiable data that we rely on to help us further group our students to get a really accurate feel for where kids are. So what are we hearing from our teachers? What am I hearing from teachers specifically? There's increasing engagement. You know, a frequent thing that I'll hear from teachers when I ask them, how did today go? It was better than yesterday. They really miss the students. I think they really miss interacting with them. They really want them to be back physically, but they're making the best they can. They are working exhaustively. And I will say our teachers at the end of the day are exhausted. It's difficult work they're doing. Hopefully it'll get easier, physically and emotionally easier as they continue to get familiar with the tools, but this is hard work that they're doing. One of the things that one dynamic, and I'll talk about what I'm hearing from parents as well. They're actually scaling back their expectations from what they would if kids were in the classroom, because so much of the burden of the guided practice part of this is falling on families and kids to do, and they're not physically in the room. I think in many cases, our parents are seeing some of those expectations and thinking, my gosh, this is too much. But the reality is, from our teachers' perspective, if they were in the rooms, they'd be doing 10 times what they're doing in some cases. And that doesn't mean they're not being challenged. It just means, given the environment and the fact that we're trying to ease into it, I think that's one of the difficult things about the way we're navigating this together, is that parents are getting a view of what happens in the classroom from a little different angle. And it's a real challenge. From the parents, I'm hearing some frustration with the tools. Not necessarily that the tools are bad, just that they're difficult to learn. And in some cases, they can be hard to navigate. Sometimes you log in and something doesn't work, and you've got an 8-year-old that wants to log into something or submit an assignment, and it doesn't look like it's submitting, or it's not downloading properly. That can be a terribly frustrating situation. for the parent and the child. So I told you a little bit of a difference with regards to expectations. That's not across the board, but in some cases, I think there is that a little bit of a difference in disposition depending on the way you're looking at it. Teachers know what typically is happening in the classroom. Parents are seeing in some cases for the first time what's happening throughout the day in the classroom, which I think ultimately will be a good thing. So another thing I'm hearing that really echoes the sentiments that you heard in the public comment tonight, and that is that too much is falling on parents. It's not manageable. In some cases, parents are wishing there was more synchronous instruction with teachers than there is. The way we have this set up right now, and this is based on recommendations that we received through the Department of Education, with regards to how much time is reasonable to expect a child at any given grade level to sit engaged in front of a computer screen. With teacher-directed instruction. And so that will increase from what it is right now. You have a short burst of teacher synchronous learning, and then you have guided practice. Guided practice in the normal classroom would look like anything from independent work where the teacher is moving around the room and helping students, to pairs, groups of students. Maybe there's a small group over here and independent work over here, and the teacher's over here at a kidney-shaped table with 3 students doing more intensive remedial work. Those kinds of things, that's the bulk of what happens in the classroom, and it's not happening now with the teacher in the classroom because it's remote. Now, those small group opportunities are being scheduled more and more and more. So I do think parents are going to see more opportunities for students to engage in those kinds of small group settings as we get further into the year and get better acclimated. But to the parents' point, a large part of that is falling on the home. That's where the child is, and that's where that work's being done. And so I do think that parents, to a large degree, are, at least the ones I'm hearing from, are having a hard time with that. Even if they don't disagree with it, they're just saying it's difficult for a variety of reasons. I'm not prepared for this. I work 2 jobs and I'm a single parent. I don't have time for this. Those are the kinds of frustrations that I think I'm hearing. And I do want to say this, much more so than not, I'm hearing very positive comments from parents. Even in light of the feedback I just shared, ultimately, most parents are very impressed with the way we were able to pivot and put together a modified curriculum and a platform that's very smooth for students. And they're very impressed with the work our teachers are doing. I do want to say that the vast majority of what I'm hearing is that. So moving forward, like I said, I think we're going to see increased small group instruction across the board, from the primary grades on up through seniors in high school. More of those intensive opportunities, especially as we get more data, letting us know where students are academically and where those gaps are. We'll continue to assess those gaps and modify our plan. Try to keep improving our communication with families. I think our teachers in schools are doing a phenomenal job with that, making individual phone calls. And we as a division will continue to improve our ability to communicate with families. And again, to prepare some instructional information for our parents on how to specifically assess learning and assess assignments as they're being done in Canvas. I do want to brief you very quickly. You know, we have some small populations of students that are attending in person as allowable under phase 1. We've got our Bridging Communities students that are attending in New Kent 1 day a week. We're transporting them. Our Governor School students are in some cases in person, and the few students that we have in the dual enrollment programs through RCC and the workforce development, the welding, they have labs that are mandatory on campus. So we're providing transportation and making sure those work. With regards to our special populations, we have a total of 15 students across the division that are receiving in-person instruction allowable under the governor's order using division transportation. They're coming 4 days a week. So we have 2 students that come for just a couple hours a week, but the remaining 13 are coming 4 days a week for intensive instruction. The middle and high school, we have students coming 4 days a week. Elementary, we've got the 2 days rotating with 1 that attends all 4 days. We're going to have another 3 of those students with IEPs pending the outcome of those meetings that potentially will come to the elementary school. So currently 12 of those 15 students with IEPs are using school provided transportation to get to school. With regards to our students who are being transported to day treatment centers, Phase-On is on a hybrid schedule. So they have 1 week in person, 1 week of virtual. So our students who we transport to Phase-On, that's how they're doing that. There are 3 of those. The Sarah Dooley Center for Autism and Gateway, we have students in both of those programs, and they are all fully in person, both of those. The Dooley School coincides with nearby counties. So really wherever those counties go is how their schedule goes. They were hybrid, they're in person, they're doing a little of both. And then Charterhouse is right now completely virtual right now. So our students that we take to Charterhouse, we're not physically driving them. They're receiving services virtually. With regards to the regional program, the Middle Peninsula Regional Special Ed Program that Mrs. Suchek mentioned earlier, based on many variables, we've got multiple school divisions that are in. They really vary. It really depends on the student that's there as to how they're providing those services. And all of those IEPs are so unique in the accommodations and the services that are provided. So I just wanted to give you that rundown on teaching and learning, our schools, transportation, special ed. And before I move on, do you have any questions for me about any of that? Anybody would like me to go into more detail about any of that? Okay, so just very briefly, I'll just let you know we have continued our meal program. As you know, we qualified thanks to Crystal Jett, our new nutrition supervisor. She did a wonderful job of getting us on board with the community eligibility program. Since that time, the community eligibility program was going to enable us to offer free breakfast and lunch to all enrolled students. And we began that. Since that time, the state has extended the summer meals program that also allows that. And so in order to leverage the reimbursement through the summer meals program, we're going to jump from the community eligibility back onto the summer meals eligibility. It doesn't change our service to the community. It just changes the way those reimbursements come. We're averaging a little less than 300 meals a day at the 2 sites. We have distributions at the elementary school and the high school. So about 300 at each one. And then we do about 70 deliveries. And the way we're doing the deliveries on Tuesdays and Thursdays, on Tuesday, we deliver breakfast and lunch for Tuesday and Wednesday. And on Thursday, we deliver 3 of those for Thursday, Friday, and the forthcoming Monday. So all in all, based on the limited days we had in the last 2 weeks, we've done about 1,930. It's about 1,930, a little less than 2,000 meals so far, breakfast and lunch. I really commend Crystal Jett. She's done a phenomenal job. She's experimenting with different items to try to make the meals more accessible, to try to make them more palatable to students. She had all kinds of wonderful plans for food fairs that she was going to do with kids if we were in person. Obviously, she can't do that right now, but I do want to just really commend her. She's 2 weeks on the job. She's inherited, obviously, a very complex program with a lot of state reporting and audits, coming in, and she's really doing a great job. So that's the deal with meals. And then I wanted to give you a brief update. And since Steve Dunkel is with us, maybe Steve, at this time, you wouldn't mind just sharing with the board a little bit about how we've distributed devices, how many have been distributed across the division, and then any questions board members have for me or Steve or any of us, really.
So we did kind of outline a phase plan for our device distribution based on student need and access to reliable access to internet at home. Currently, we have distributed 570 total devices at MES. We are waiting on a few parents to pick up their remaining devices, but I think that number is less than 20 devices to still be picked up at the elementary school. The middle school, we've distributed 273 total Chromebooks. in addition to 27 MiFis and hotspots. The percentage there of students that haven't picked up devices is less than 1%. So we're almost fully deployed at the middle school, with I'd say 10% still remaining at the elementary. The high school, we have done 263 total device distributions. That being mostly regular Chromebooks. Currently, we are waiting for 24 students that we need to have their MAC addresses at the high school that are part of the CTE program, because they require access to the Adobe suite for their CTE courses. And we are doing a MAC address filtering on the MiFi devices to restrict what devices can actually connect to the internet. We're doing that to protect our data plans, and as well as to make sure that we are filtering devices and monitoring the web traffic for things that are inappropriate. So that is the primary slowdown at the high school. But we have reached out to everyone there. We've called in, emailed, and we are getting those in slowly but surely. We've also ordered an additional 50 MiFi devices, as well as 50 LTE Chromebooks. So that will put us at 450 total LTE devices by the end of next week as our division inventory. Couple that with close to 600 families in the division that already have access to Atlantic Broadband. We think that was the best way of doing our coverage map.
Thank you, Steve. Can you just briefly just make sure everybody's on the same page with what a MiFi is?
Sure. So MiFi is a device that has a cellular card in it and it connects to Verizon's network, but then it produces a wireless signal. So you can connect multiple devices at the home. And what we've done with those MiFis is we've enrolled them into a management software so we can see where they are, and we can also identify who's connected to that device. So we take a unique identifier, which is known as a MAC address, and we assign that to the MiFi to restrict who can actually connect to that network.
Good deal. Thanks, Steve. Board members, do you have any questions for us? I just wanted to give you a general update. I would say, in summary, everybody feels that the opening was really smooth, and in some cases, maybe smoother than people were anticipating. I think as we get into it, obviously, we're going to hear more and learn more about the frustrations of actually implementing it at home. It is a big burden on families at home and a big burden on our teachers. And we'll just continue to navigate it. We'll get some great data this week and next week from our map testing. So what questions do you have?
The upper end of the county, have we resolved the issues up there as far as accessibility to internet?
Great question, Mr. Reed. Steve, can you address that? We talked about that briefly.
I'm still waiting on access to the LTE modem to get that wild card off the ground, but we're taking in all of the communication from families that don't have connectivity, and we're doing our best to try to address it with the LTE devices and suggestions for places in the community that are close to them. But I think I think ultimately, if there's just no connectivity at home, we will have to work something out with transportation and utilizing our facilities. But that percentage has been very low thus far.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, no one is left out on the upper end of the county and within the whole county. But, my district is the upper end, and I'm really concerned that everyone up there, is getting what they need.
Absolutely.
So Steve, question, if you have your own laptop, whatever, Mac, whatever you have at home, does that coordinate with the school system, or is that something that has to be brought in for you all to reconfigure?
We have only had a handful of requests to use personal devices, and we can coordinate and have sent out instructional information on how to obtain the MAC address. Vicki Owen sent out a very detailed list of how to do that. And we are happy to work with folks that want to use their own devices, but we will do the MAC address restrictions on the MiFis if that is what their intention is.
Okay. So pretty much our students are using our devices.
Pardon?
For the most part, our students are using our devices that we have distributed to them.
At this moment, I think it's almost a complete saturation at the elementary and middle school, and mostly at the high school, yes. I do
Okay.
know some students are comfortable using their own phones to log into their lessons and things like that. Just I think sometimes it's personal preference, and I think high schoolers have a little bit more, they're a little more opinionated on what devices they use. So, but yes, right now at the middle school, elementary school, we're almost completely using our devices, and I would say 75% at the high school.
We haven't had any issues with any of the Chromebooks, have we? As far as heating, overheating?
To my knowledge, I've only had 3 broken devices, and those were more related to accidents with spillage and droppage than overheating. I've not gotten anything from the hotline from overheating Chromebooks.
Okay.
Dr. Gratz,
Yes, ma'am.
the meals. I know that it's been in the newspaper, and I know you've sent out communication. I just wanted you to reiterate that every student is eligible for these meals at no cost.
Yeah, every student is eligible, and I'm actually, thank you for bringing that up, actually, because I do want to make a point. Under the community eligibility program, every student is eligible, and it's beneficial to the school division for more people to access the meals. Under the summer feeding program that we're moving to, we not only are eligible to serve our own students, we're actually able to serve any students in the county who are under 18 years old, like we did over the summer and last year with the Y. So to answer your question, yes, there's no eligibility process. There's no kind of, you don't have to be eligible for reduced lunch prices or free lunch. Anybody is able to come and to access those meals. The challenge that we have is to just make sure that we're always monitoring about how many, about supply and demand, to make sure we don't overmake or undermake. But I'm glad you brought that up, because that is, again, no difference to the service to the community, but the answer is yes. We want folks to participate in this.
Mhm. Right.
Regardless of their socioeconomic
Mhm.
circumstance.
All right. Anything else at this point? I will open the floor for public comment. And once again, if you have something to say, please state your name and your address, and we'll give you 3 minutes for your comment.
I have some comments that are on YouTube. Those folks are not participating live. There is
Okay.
a delay on YouTube. Would you like me to share them, or would you like me just to compile them and send them to the board in an email?
Are they meant for public? I know it's on YouTube, but I mean, is this something people want expressed?
There's some, mostly they're questions related to some instruction, some technology, and things like that. Mostly just general comments, I think, that might be informative to the board, just in the general sense of our community. But
Okay. If there are questions, I think maybe they should be directed through an email so that we can answer those, or Dr. Gretz could answer those that way. If it's a comment, we'd certainly entertain it.
I was planning on documenting all of the comments and sharing them with Dr. Gretz.
Okay.
And I had communicated to the forum in general. That's what my intention was.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Dr. Gretz, anything else you'd like to bring before the group?
Nothing new. I just want to reiterate, this is kind of overshadowed by the fact that we're in such an unprecedented circumstance and trying so hard to navigate things we haven't done instructionally and connect and communicate well with our families. The grant awards that we received and the innovation grant and the money from the river counties and the are being named to the Innovation Network. These are really huge announcements for us, and our school community should be really proud of that as a community, not just of our schools, but it's the fact that we've worked together to really try to do some innovative things for our schools and to lead the Commonwealth in a way that's very unique, that only Middlesex could do, that has resulted in this. And I just, I hate the fact that we're, some of these things just get overshadowed by obviously some very meaningful and serious conversations that are happening around some of these other operations. It's a really big deal. We've been honored and we're being recognized throughout the Commonwealth, one of only 5 to receive that designation, and a pretty nice grant award to continue some great work. So I just want to encourage everybody with that, and thank the board certainly for your ongoing support of those efforts and leadership in that regard. There's some great things ahead for us.
Great. Wonderful. And Steve, if you would please commend your board from this board, your group of technology people from the board, that we know, although we're not in your presence, we know that you all are working overtime to get all this accomplished for our students and our teachers, and it is greatly appreciated. We thank you. Any old business to come before the group? Any new business? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn until our October meeting.
Move we adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan, Ms. Murray, for being here.